Welcome to May. I almost said April. It's May now. Happy May. I know I said I was gonna pop on here hopefully and try to film some of Bennett's birthday, and then I turned around and it was the beginning of May and I got almost nothing. So little man had a wonderful first birthday, and thank you to everyone who came and who sent presents. He had a wonderful time. I think I posted 1 or 2 pictures of his 1-year photo shoot, but I can add some more to that too. We did a Mickey Mouse themed photo shoot for his 1-year birthday, and it was adorable and crazy to think that my little guy is already 1. That went so fast. Let's see, updates on him for the last couple of months. So we went back to Cincinnati, Ohio just this past week to do his final post-op checkup from his surgery back in February. And everything looks great there, so that was a huge answer to prayer. He'll have to have a couple of more checkups as he gets older, but for the next several years, we are done making the drive to and from Cincy, which is wonderful. He is a walking boy now. Anyone who's on my socials knows that. I post videos of him all the time. He's entered into the lovely new stage of toddlerhood, and I say that with both a true grin and some gritted teeth, as it's been a different world for mommy lately. He's loving life. So it's so much fun to see. He has started weaning himself off of his bottles, which I thought I was gonna have to do for him. He's done it himself, so I don't know if any of you other moms have had your kids do that, but gradually, gosh, I'd say about maybe a month ago, he started not drinking his milk for lunch and dinner. And his pediatrician had told me at his 1-year appointment that I would need to start pulling him off of that and onto whole milk anyway. So I was like, well, perfect, he's doing it himself. We switched him from his formula to instead offering him whole milk at lunchtime. I don't think I've mentioned this on here, but people that know Bennett, he has a lactose intolerance issue. He's had that since he was born, and it caused really bad colic for the first 8 weeks of his life before we figured out what was going on. And so I switched him to a lactose-free whole milk. His fussiness came back, a lot of his really runny diarrhea diapers came back, and I quickly figured out that was the culprit. So we ended up pulling him back off of that and putting him back on his goat's milk formula. It's, there's never a dull moment in motherhood, I feel like, where you think you get one thing figured out and then something else goes wrong and then you have to fix that issue. But anyway, he has pretty much transitioned completely off of his milk. He still drinks his bottle in the morning and then he'll do one before bed, but otherwise he's on water. Not juice, which I thought he would fight me on, but he's been sick twice in the last 6 weeks. So we had to give him Kinder Light and Pedialyte, and I was trying to give him juice to help him stay hydrated, and he does not like juice. And I never thought I'd have a toddler who didn't like sugar, but he doesn't like juice. So anyway, I'm not complaining. So he's a water kiddo. He has started getting very interested in people food, so we're slowing down on the baby food jars too. Now I pretty much only use those for the vegetables to accompany his meals. He's eating, like, my little almost 14-month-old had tortilla soup the other night for dinner, and he had 2 bowls of it. I don't know that I've met another 14-month-old that wants to eat, granted it wasn't that spicy because I can't handle spice, but tortilla soup for dinner. So that's interesting. He likes ham and potato casserole. That's what he had for lunch today. So it's been a fun new season with him, just watching him learn. He has just started to inch into the mommy I do it phase, so he tries to help with chores and cooking, and it's adorable. We're having the best time with him. He's still doing swim classes and he loves that. We're gonna miss heading to Michigan this year for sure. I was hoping to get him on a lake, but we're hopefully gonna go visit my grandparents a couple times this year and they have a lake, so we'll be looking forward to that. So those are kind of the major updates on Bennett. He's talking constantly, has a lot to say. His favorite words are still mama, dada. We really like ducks. We're really into ducks right now. I'm not sure what the duck obsession's about, but he likes ducks. We took him to Disney, so that was our big April adventure. We had so much fun with that. We love Disney. Obviously, our wedding photo in the background was the castle. We're a pretty Disney obsessed family over here. I don't think my husband loves it as much as I do. I think he tolerates it for me, but my mom and I and now Bennett adore it. So we don't typically go till November. Usually we go in November and we stay a lot longer. This time we only stayed 5 days, but usually we go in November and we do the Mickey's Very Merry Christmas party and all of that, but we aren't going to be able to do that this year. So my parents took us down. It was so much fun. We had a great 4 days there. Unfortunately, Bennett got really, really sick again. So before we went down, he was sick with I I don't know what he had. He just started to sound, he got really rattly. He'd had his really stuffy nose for a couple days, and then he started coughing. And so I just took him to the doctor kind of proactively, just because we knew we were headed on a plane. And so they put him on an antibiotic just to see. And that's a whole other story. He had rebounded really well. Like, I took him to the doctor the Monday before we left. And then we got down to Florida, and he did great for the first 2 days. And then the rest of the time he was very, very sick. I mean, puking and just, oh, it was awful. And we couldn't figure out what was wrong. So we had a great time despite that, but that definitely put a damper on it. Poor kid. And it was so hot. We're used to going, like I said, in November, where most of the time the high maybe hits 80, if that, and the humidity is almost non-existent. And while we were down there, I mean, I think every day except the first 2 days we were there, it was over 90. The humidity wasn't terrible, which was a saving grace, but oh my goodness, it was so hot. And he's never done heat like that yet. But we had fun. He got to do breakfast with Mickey and meet his favorite character, which is Winnie the Pooh. So that was super fun for him. Yeah, so that was our big April adventure. We had Disney, and then my dad's 50th birthday party was also in April. So that was really fun. It was a super special event. My mom planned this massive surprise party all centered around the solar eclipse, because that was actually on my dad's birthday. You can imagine all the jokes we've been saying in the house for the last couple months. And the party was wonderful. So many of his friends and coworkers showed up, and it was so remarkable, just the sheer number of people who had such honoring stories about my dad and the impact he's made on their lives in the last 50 years. And as a daughter, that's just really humbling to get to sit and listen to that. I'm just so proud of him. So that was awesome. It was really funny. So I know I probably have some followers on here who aren't on my Instagram and Facebook pages. When we went to Disney, we did our big announcement that we are expecting, so baby number 2, and we're expecting them this fall. So we've known we were pregnant for a while, but I had planned, we wanted to wait a little bit longer than we did with Bennett. I wasn't able to wait as long as I wanted to with Bennett because my belly popped very, very quickly, and my co-workers at the time, I had only gotten married about 8 weeks before, and my co-workers at the time were just starting to think I was just eating too much and enjoying my married life a bit in excess. And so we ended up announcing it early with Bennett just because I didn't want that rumor going around. So with this one, I was hoping to be able to wait a little bit longer. I didn't really want to make any announcement until we hit the end of the first trimester. Of course, we told my family we found out pretty early on. So we told my family and then my in-laws pretty quickly, but we weren't going to tell anybody else. And I was adamant about that. I was like, we're not telling anyone else until we get further along. I just don't want it to be out there yet. And my dad's 50th birthday was coming up as well. So I was like, let's just keep it under wraps, please. And all the family was coming in from out of town. And I was like, just no one say anything. It's Dad's day. We'll announce it when we go to Disney, because we've done pretty much every other big announcement in the parks. So I said, let's just wait. We'll go in April, do the announcement then. Okay. So my grandmother wrote this very sweet speech for my dad's 50th birthday. And in the speech, she mentioned the second grandbaby. And so she let me have a quick pass, sent it to my mom. I handed it to my mom and I just said, can we just cut that part out? It's Dad's day. I really don't want the second baby in the picture. She said, sure, because she knew we wanted to announce it in Florida. And anyone who was at the party knows the next part of the story, where my dad had no idea that this party was going to be this big. There were over 150 people there for his 50th. And he was completely shocked. And so they asked him to do an impromptu speech, which my dad's great at, but he was so caught off guard and so caught up in the moment that he gets up on stage and he's talking about things he's thankful for and thanking the people in the room. And he blurts out, and I'm so thankful that we get to be grandparents of an awesome kid like Bennett and baby number 2 who's coming in the fall. And the entire room just erupts into applause. And I'm at the back of the room chasing Bennett around because he was busy and wanted to play. And I just shook my head. And everyone kind of turned and looked at me. And I caught Dakota's eye across the room. And he just kind of went... I was like, well, I guess it's out now. So then the rest of the evening you had happy birthdays and then people going, congratulations, Brooke. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so what I wanted to avoid. And my dad even said, he goes, please don't be mad at me, honey. It was hilarious. So anyway, very sweet that he was so excited. We did our announcement at the Terrace de Fleurs in Epcot, where we had our wedding reception and where we announced Bennett's gender. So we went ahead and did our picture there too for this one, letting everyone know they're coming. So, and this pregnancy for me has been very different from Bennett's. And you know, it's funny. I guess I expected both of them to be about the same, and that's been completely untrue. I was only puking with Bennett up until about, I'd say 8 weeks pregnant with Bennett, and with this baby, oh my goodness, I'm still well into the second semester and puking as well. So that's been different. I noticed symptoms a lot earlier than I did with Bennett too. The morning sickness was awful. Ugh. I thought I knew what it was with Bennett, and then I got pregnant with this one, and just like, it's like night and day. It's so funny. And I often have joked and said, I don't think I would have, maybe it's all in God's timing. I'm not sure I would have gone along with having two this close together had I known how sick I was going to be. The exhaustion hit me like a truck. That finally got better, I'd say about a month ago. It finally started to let up a little bit, but I couldn't. My doctors were asking me, how are you feeling? And I'm like, well, I am completely exhausted, but I can't tell if that's from being pregnant or from chasing my 13-month-old around the house. I'm feeling much better now. I was so sick that I still haven't gained any weight with this baby, which I'm not ungrateful for because I hadn't lost all of it from the first child yet, but I was also a little concerned at my last appointment, and I asked him, like, okay, so like when I was pregnant with Bennett, I'd gained a good 10 pounds at this point. And they said that's normal when you've been as sick as I've been. It's just, there's nothing left for your body to gain with. So it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. So anyway, baby's growing really well. We have our gender reveal coming up. We are thinking we're gonna do something different with this baby. We kind of just blurted it out when we found out with Bennett, but with this one, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So we've got some ideas for that. My parents are actually going to be out of the country the day that we go to find out what we're having. So we'll post that on here eventually when we get to that point. Definitely feel like I have a much bigger belly than I did with Bennett at this point in my pregnancy. And drop me a comment in the box underneath this if you guys would like to see some bump pics. I don't know. Some people think that's cheesy and flashy, and other people are like, no, we want to see. But I think it's been fun, at least on my own. I've compared the two as the weeks have gone by, and it's just interesting to see the difference between Bennett and this one. Other pregnancy updates between this one, my acne with this baby is awful, and I had almost no acne with Bennett, and then with this one I feel like I'm back in high school. I had that really painful cystic acne too as a teenager, and that has erupted again, and I haven't had that since before I got married. So that has been a struggle. My hair is flat and very greasy, and with Bennett I had like this beautiful voluptuous hair. It was awesome. And then I got pregnant with this one, and I'm like, yeah, I got nothing. Recently, I'm feeling baby move, which is it's always fun, and anyone who's been pregnant knows that. The early stages of the kicking and the movement, I feel like, is the best part, because the further along you get, not that you love it any less, but it starts keeping you up at night, and they start kicking into organs that don't necessarily feel great when they get hit. We're very excited though. Fall can't get here fast enough. Okay, so one of the mom lessons I've really dove into unintentionally lately, that life has been teaching me, God's been teaching me. My baby has been sick 5 times since December, 4 times since his surgery in February. This last time that Bennett got sick, I really, really struggled, more so than any of the other times, other than like the first time he got sick when he was littler, because I mean, anytime you're a brand new mom and your baby gets sick, it's really hard because you don't know what you're doing. But even, especially this last time in Florida where he was just puking, I mean, violently, it was awful. I got really frustrated. And I said earlier in the video, there was a story to go with that. So when we got home, he was puking the morning that we left Florida, was still puking a couple days after we got home. And I finally took him back to the doctor and just said, I don't understand. He's been on the antibiotics, so it can't be anything viral. I don't know why my kid's puking. And come to find out, he's allergic to amoxicillin, which is the antibiotic that they put him on before we left. And so I just had this moment leaving the doctor's office after figuring that out, where do you ever just feel like you can't win as a mom? Like, you take them to the doctor, and originally his doctor, when I took him in before we left for Florida, she said she had no idea what was wrong with him. Because my initial thought was he was acting the same way he did right before he got his double ear infection and pneumonia over Christmas. And so when I took him in, my first concern was, I don't want him to get that sick again. I mean, he was on breathing treatments, he was wheezing. I didn't want him to get that bad. And so I just said, do I need to preventatively do something here before it gets too much worse? And I definitely am all for letting their immune systems develop and fight things off as best they can, but I have a limit. I have a limit to that, and I didn't want him to go through that again because that was just awful. And her initial answer was she didn't know what was wrong with him, which I understand they can't know everything, but at the same time, there's just this great frustration that boils in me when that answer is given. Because then as a mother, you're like, okay, do I put him on the antibiotic preemptively, even though I think he may not necessarily need it, or do I just let him fight it out and run the risk of it getting worse? So then because we were traveling, I put him on it, and then we get home and come to find out he's been puking for the last 7 days because he was allergic to it. And if I hadn't put him on it, that wouldn't have happened. Am I even good at this? You fix one thing, and then there are 3 other problems that pop up that you have to fix. That got very overwhelming for me with as often as he has been sick. And I wish I could say I handled it well. I definitely didn't. I also feel like as the mom, I'm supposed to have all the answers. So when I don't know why he's crying, or I don't know why he's puking, and I can't figure it out, I get very, very stressed and then very down on myself as a result of that. Because I'm with him all the time. I know what he eats. I know what he drinks. I know who he's around. I should be able to figure this out. And it was just a wonderful reminder that I don't have this figured out. And as I'm pregnant with the second one, God has definitely reminded me that I don't have control, nor do I have much wisdom on anything in this life. And that process has been very long, and it's going to be a lifelong process, but I really feel like I've been put through boot camp on that, and he's awake, so this will be ending shortly. Can you say hello? Can you say hello? Say hello. Oh, big snot bubble. We are in field harvesting or field planting season here in Indiana, so we've got, oh, really? Say hello. Hello, people. The bump on her head is from sleeping on her face. He's done that since he was born. So anyway, to wrap up, God's been teaching me a lot that I don't have it figured out, and I'm not gonna have it figured out. And the only way I can get answers on anything is to first pray, and he leads me to where he leads me to where I need to go. And so I think that would be my biggest mom lesson lately, is pray first, seek to hear his voice before everybody else's. And I have found that I'm usually led down the path of finding the answer when I start there, but also to have grace. So you need to have grace and not beat yourself up when you don't know the answer. And that I don't have figured out yet. But the other thing I'm reminded of every day is how incredibly grateful I am that I get to do this life with you. With you. Yeah. All the snot bubbles. It's so pretty. Yeah, I know. All right, well, tell the people bye-bye. Say we will see them next month. Say bye-bye. Thank you for listening. Okay.